The moment you step into a room, you're already being read. Your posture, your voice, your silence, even your hesitation speaks volumes. You think you're safe because you didn't say anything wrong, but you've already said everything. Machiavelli understood, power doesn't start with control, it starts with observation. The one who sees through others wins. The one who gets seen first loses. You think reading people is some soft skill? No. It's a weapon, and most people are walking around disarmed. You trust smiles. You trust tone. You think kindness equals safety. But in Machiavelli's world, every smile is a transaction. Every silence a setup. Every "I'm fine" a survival tactic in disguise. This isn't about empathy. This is about psychological dominance. You're surrounded by performers. Some chase approval. Some fear exposure. Some crave control. And the most dangerous ones don't even know they're performing. But you're here to change that. Because once you learn to read not just their words but their patterns, their reactions, their shadows, you stop playing the game. You start owning it. This isn't a list of tricks. This is a new way of seeing. 18 psychological tactics. Each one designed to peel back the mask and expose the animal beneath it. You won't ask. You'll provoke. You won't guess. You'll extract. You won't wait. You'll read and then you'll steer. Because in a world built on deception, the most dangerous person in the room is the one who sees everything. So now ask yourself, are you the one who reads or the one who's been read all along? Tactic 1. Watch the invisible. You want to know who someone really is. Don't watch how they treat you. That's easy to fake. Watch how they treat the ones they think don't matter. The waiter, the janitor, the assistant. People perform for power, but they relax around weakness. That's when the mask slips. Machiavelli never judged character by words. He judged it by what happens when no one's watching. Here's why it works. When they know you hold value, they activate their best self. But when they think someone is beneath them, they stop pretending. If they mock the powerless, what do you think they'll do when your value drops? If they talk over the quiet, what do you think they'll do when your voice shakes? If they forget the names of those beneath them, they'll forget their promises to you too. Watch the invisible. That's where real power hides, and where fake loyalty dies. Never forget, the moment someone believes you no longer benefit them, you'll meet their real self. Tactic 2. Use silence as a weapon. Most people don't talk to express. They talk to protect. Because silence is exposure. It strips the mask. Say less. Let your pauses sting. Let the quiet become loud. People fear silence because it makes them feel seen, and most can't stand being seen without a script. When you stop talking, you shift the power. They scramble to fill the gap with explanations, excuses, even confessions they didn't plan to give. Machiavelli mastered this. He used silence not as absence, but as pressure. The more they speak, the more they reveal. The less you react, the more they unravel. Silence is not just a weapon, it's a mirror, and most people can't survive their own reflection. Want to find the most insecure person in the room? Say nothing, and watch who starts to fall apart. Tactic 3. Offer nothing. No smile, no approval, no reaction, just presence. Still, unreadable, immovable. When you give nothing, they're forced to show everything. Watch. Do they lean in harder, desperate to please? They're validation addicts. Do they turn cold, as if you owe them warmth? Then their kindness was always transactional. Do they stay calm, composed? That's someone with emotional control, and that makes them dangerous. Machiavelli understood one brutal truth. People don't treat you based on who you are. They treat you based on what they can extract. Remove the benefit, and you expose their blueprint. This isn't defense, it's data collection. Once you see their programming, you know exactly what input gets the output you want. Don't offer value too early. Make them show their real self, without reward. That's the version that counts. Tactic 4. Interrupt the script. Some people aren't dangerous because they're loud. They're dangerous because they're rehearsed. They know what to say, how to say it, how to win approval without revealing a thing. They've built a personality, not a self, a mask, refined over years. So what do? Break the script. Ask what they didn't expect. Pause when they expect praise. Smile when they try guilt. Go quiet when they turn on the charm. Watch how they flinch, how they overcorrect, how their tone slips. That's not a mistake, that's truth leaking out. Because when performance breaks, the real actor appears. Machiavelli knew, the most controlled people are the most fragile. The longer the performance, the harder they fall. You don't need to be loud. You need to be unpredictable. That's what unravels the act. Tactic 5. Test loyalty with small losses. Loyalty doesn't prove itself in good times. It reveals itself when something's taken away. A favor denied. A message left unanswered. A yes replaced with a quiet no. Then you watch. Do they stay kind? Still show respect? That's rare. Do they pull away? Talk behind your back? Then congratulations. You just dodged a betrayal. Machiavelli tested people not by giving, but by refusing. Because the most dangerous loyalty is the one that vanishes. The moment you stop feeding it. If they only love you when you say yes, they never loved you. They love the access. This isn't about punishing others. It's about seeing clearly who was ever real in the first place. Tactic 6. Track their focus, not their words. Words lie. Focus doesn't. While they speak, don't just hear them, watch them. Not their mouth, not their message. Their attention. Do their eyes drift toward people with status? They crave validation from power. Do they ignore those with no influence? They respect advantage, not integrity. Do they check their phone mid-conversation? You're not a priority. You're replaceable. Do they mirror your tone, your posture, your phrases? They're not connecting. They're calculating. Here's the real game. People invest their attention in what they value. You don't need to ask what they care about. Just watch where their eyes wander when no one's watching them. Machiavelli never chased words. He followed attention because attention is currency. And where they spend it reveals what they worship. The listener hears the surface. The observer controls the outcome. These tactics aren't about confrontation. They're about friction. You interrupt, you delay, you observe, and in the silence, they give you everything. Because people don't break when attacked. They break when their pattern stops working. Tactic 7. Fake a flaw, then watch people say they value honesty. What they really scan for is leverage. So give them something, but not the truth. Invent a harmless flaw. I tend to overthink. I used to avoid conflict. I was too trusting. Then stop. Don't explain. Observe. Do they repeat it later to undercut you? They're opportunists. Storing your words like daggers, smiling as they sharpen them. Do they ignore it completely? They're strategic, cautious, possibly dangerous. They wait until the advantage is guaranteed. Do they confess a flaw in return? They're connection seekers, and they just revealed their own weak spot. Machiavelli never confessed real flaws. He offered bait. False weakness triggers real reactions, and your armor stays intact. This is low-risk warfare. You sacrifice nothing, but expose everything. Weak minds try to impress. Strategists watch what people do when they think they've found blood. Tactic 8. Make them wait. Time is power, and power is revealed in how people respond to delay. So, delay on purpose. Respond slower. Pause before you answer. Break the rhythm. Don't rush to reply. Don't jump to please. Make space. Stretch time. Watch how they react. Do they grow anxious? Agitated? Do they start explaining themselves or trying harder? Good. That's their craving for control cracking. Because urgency reveals dependency. And whoever controls the tempo controls the room. Machiavelli understood. The one who waits without fear always has the upper hand. Make them wait. Not to punish, but to see. Because patience isn't passive. It's psychological pressure. Then, watch. Do they over-apologize? They're insecure, scrambling to earn their place back. Do they get angry? They think access to you is a right, not a privilege. Do they withdraw completely? They were never stable to begin with. Machiavelli delayed strategically, because every second of silence forces the other person to question their position in your world. And people don't fear distance. They fear what distance means. The manipulator's mind starts racing. Did I lose value? Did I say something wrong? Am I being replaced? That spiral, that's when they reveal their hand. Because entitlement can't survive uncertainty. So create it, then watch. Who stays grounded? And who begins to crack? The easiest way to provoke a reaction is not through conflict, but through absence. Tactic 9. Watch who they copy. No one is fully original. We all mirror. But who someone copies reveals what they're chasing. Study their speech, their rhythm, their clothes, their role models. Do they imitate the powerful? They want control. The popular, they crave approval. The moral, they want to appear righteous. Even if they're not. Machiavelli knew, you learn more from imitation than confession. Because imitation is subconscious ambition. It leaks out in borrowed tone, repurposed phrases, copied confidence. They don't mean to show you, but they do. They can't help it. And once you know who they're trying to become, you gain leverage. Become the image they seek, or the obstacle they need to overcome. Either way, you become the reference point that shapes their every move. Here's the twist. You don't have to be their idol. Just stand between them and their ideal. And they'll serve you without knowing why. Tactic 10. Trigger envy. Then watch the flicker. You don't need to boast. You don't need to insult. Just mention a win, a compliment you didn't ask for, an opportunity that came without effort. Then pause and watch. Do they smile too quickly? Do their eyes flick away? Do they change the subject just a second too soon? That's not awkwardness. That's envy. And Machiavelli warned. Envy is the most silent form of sabotage. The envious don't confront. They wait, they gather. They withhold, they cut from the side. Quietly, precisely. Envy wears the mask of friendship. But behind it, the slow brewing storm. Once you see it flicker, once you recognize the smile hiding a dagger, you never forget. Never confuse support with celebration. Many will clap for you, not because they want to, but because they have to. Tactic 11. Ask what they hate. Everyone claims to stand for something. That's easy to fake. But what someone stands against, that's where the truth leaks out. So don't ask what they admire. Ask this. What kind of people disgust you? What trait do you judge instantly? What type of behavior do you just hate? Now listen, not to the answer, but to the subtext. The man who hates arrogance is often starving for respect. The woman who despises liars is often lying to herself. The person who mocks weakness was once punished for showing any. Machiavelli's law, what we judge in others is what we haven't healed in ourselves. You're not just hearing complaints, you're listening to repression. So the next time someone criticizes others, ask, what are they projecting? What part of themselves have they disowned? Don't argue. Don't correct. Just observe. That's where manipulation begins. In the places they hate to admit they've been wounded. Tactic 12. Watch when their eyes break. The mouth lies. The face performs. But the eyes flee from truth. Mention shame. Mention status. Mention failure. Mention power. Then hold eye contact. Do they blink rapidly, look down, glance sideways? Go still. You just touched something buried, something raw, something unspoken. That's where Machiavelli's genius lives. He didn't need confessions. He just watched for flinches. Because where the eyes break, the fear begins. The human mind can armor itself with words, but the gaze seeks escape. The moment truth gets too close. So don't track their answer. Track the exit. The mouth protects. The mind deflects. But the eyes betray. These moments, the flicker, the break, the shift, expose what people guard most. Their hidden envy, their contradictions, their deepest wound. You don't need to humiliate them. You just need to look where it hurts, while everyone else looks where it shines. Tactic 13. Mirror them subtly, then watch them break. Most people aren't being themselves. They're being the version they think you want. Polished, curated, safe. So how do you break the mask? Not with pressure, with reflection. Mirror them, gently, deliberately, just enough. Match their tone, their rhythm, their posture. They lean in, you follow slightly. They lower their voice, you meet it. They speak with certainty, you echo it, calmly. Then you pause, and watch. Do they grow louder? They're trying to reclaim control. Do they retreat? They're unsettled, confronted by their own reflection. Do they escalate, sharper, more intense? They've realized you've taken control without touching a thing. Why does it work? Because mirroring bypasses logic. It hits something older, deeper, instinctual. It triggers recognition, familiarity, threat. Suddenly you're not just someone they're speaking to. You've become a version of them they never gave permission to exist. The closer your reflection, the more distorted they become. This is psychological friction, and most people can't handle it. Because the more someone shifts when mirrored, the more they were performing all along. And once their illusion begins to slip, you own the room. Tactic 14. Disarm with respect. Then strike. Everyone walks in, expecting judgment. That's why they arrive armored with excuses, logic, filters. So what do? The opposite. You compliment them, not falsely, strategically. You seem composed. You strike me as someone who doesn't flinch easily. You clearly think deeply before you speak. And just like that, the shield lowers. Then you strike. But when did you learn to fake confidence so well? What fear are you hiding behind all that certainty? Who are you performing for when you say that? They won't see it coming. They thought you were safe. They thought you admired them. And that is your greatest weapon. Praise softens ego. And ego craves praise. That craving becomes vulnerability. And vulnerability opens the gate. Machiavelli never attacked people where they were strong. He led them into comfort, then collapsed the floor. People reveal more when they feel admired than when they feel attacked. So admire them but never believe the mask. Admire to enter, then breach the room behind it. These tactics aren't loud. They're elegant, surgical, disturbing. Because when you reflect someone deeply enough, they can't tell what's real anymore. And when you praise them with precision, they hand you the keys to their mind in exchange for a smile. Tactic 15. Say no, then watch what stays. People can fake loyalty. They can fake friendship, even love. But no one can fake their reaction to rejection. So here's the move. Say no to something small. Don't explain, don't apologize. Just remove the yes they were counting on. Then sit still and watch. Do they remain calm? Respectful, act as if nothing changed. That's rare. That's real. But if they flinch, if they pull away, talk behind your back, guilt trip you, or go quiet, you just triggered the truth. Machiavelli's law. Rejection isn't punishment. It's revelation. Because most people don't want you. They want what comes through you. Access, status, comfort, resources. Cut the benefit, and the performance collapses. You don't need betrayal to know someone's nature. Just say no. And look closely. True character is never revealed in what they receive. It's revealed in what they do when they don't. This tactic isn't about cruelty. It's about categorizing, not by their words, but by how they act, when the game no longer benefits them. Tactic 16. Detect their target audience. Most people aren't talking to you. Even when they are, they're performing for someone. Someone they admire. Someone they fear. Someone they hope is watching. So your job is simple. Ask yourself, who are they really talking to? If they over-explain, they're performing for judgment. If they moralize every sentence, they're desperate to appear righteous. If they joke constantly, they're terrified of silence. Even praise isn't always for you. It's for positioning, to seem like someone who gets it, someone who belongs, someone to be liked. Once you identify who they're trying to impress, you identify who owns them. Machiavelli never asked, "Do they like me?" He asked, "Whose approval are they trying to earn?" That answer tells you who really pulls the strings. Because no one speaks without intention, and intent is never neutral. Now here's how you weaponize it. Once you detect their invisible audience, become it. Reflect the tone they want. Then redirect it. Or position yourself as the obstacle between them and their imagined ideal. Either way, you steer them without resistance. Because the human mind doesn't crave truth. It craves reinforcement. With these next two tactics, you don't just read people. You place them. You rank them. You frame their world without them ever realizing it. Because once you know who they become when they're denied, and who they speak to when they think you're not listening, you own the ending of their story. Tactic 17. Feed their identity. Then rewire it. People don't act from logic. They act from identity. And the strongest influence doesn't come from pushing. It comes from pulling them deeper into who they believe they are. So let them talk. Let them define themselves. I value loyalty above all. I don't play politics. I never give up. Perfect. Take mental notes. That's your script now. Because once someone declares who they are, they'll do anything to remain consistent with it. Machiavelli understood the fastest way to control someone is to confirm their illusion, then quietly steer it. Try this. You're the kind of person who sees through manipulation, so I trust you'll catch the risks in this. You hate dishonesty, that's why I brought the truth to you first. You always deliver under pressure. That's why this task needs your signature. You're not asking. You're not convincing. You're reinforcing. And no one resists reinforcement. Because identity is a prison, one we lock ourselves in with pride. People will act out that story even when it hurts them, just to prove it's true. So give them the story. Let them believe it's theirs. Then rewrite the ending. Silently. Tactic 18. Let them win first. Then own the ending. Everyone wants to feel powerful, even when they're not. So let them win first. Let them pitch the idea. Let them speak first in the meeting. Let them take the credit. Then you shape the outcome. Redirect the narrative. Subtly. Quietly. From behind the curtain. Machiavelli never needed the spotlight. He preferred the blueprints. Because people fight harder to protect what they think they created. They commit deeper when they believe they're in charge. Let them plant the seed. But you control the soil, the light, the water. You own the harvest. This isn't deception. It's design. Make them believe it was their idea. Let them lead the dance. But you choose the music. By the time they realize where they've arrived, they're already invested, loyal, attached. Not because you forced them, but because you never made them feel led. This is obedience without orders, loyalty without threat, surrender without resistance. And it works because the ego is hungry, and you fed it. The final shift. These two final tactics don't dominate with pressure, they dominate with illusion. You let them wear the crown while you quietly rewrite the kingdom. Because the highest level of influence doesn't look like control. It looks like freedom. You didn't come here for motivation. You came for clarity, for edge, for the strategy no one talks about. And now you have it. So the only question left is, are you still being read, or are you the one reading? And now you have it. 18 psychological weapons, each one designed to cut beneath the surface, to reveal what they hide, not their words, but their instincts, their cracks, their cowardice. You've learned to read people, not as they present, but as they. You've seen how they perform strength, signal virtue, beg quietly for validation, and now you stand at the edge of a choice. What will you do with this power? Because make no mistake, that's what this is, power. Not loud, not flashy, not public, silent power. The kind Machiavelli revered. The kind that shifts entire rooms without ever raising a voice. You see through people now. That smile, you know what it masks. That apology, you sense the strategy. That confidence, you recognize the performance. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. You won't fall for the act. You won't confuse attention with respect. You won't mistake noise for power. You'll pause. You'll observe. You'll pull the right string at the exact moment. That's what separates pawns from players, players from rulers. Machiavelli never asked, how do you get liked? He asked, how do you become necessary? This reading people, that was step one. Now you don't chase approval. You let them reveal themselves. And when they do, you don't flinch. You don't react. You file. You categorize. And when it's time, you move. Once. But that's all it takes to shift the entire board. So let me ask you, which tactic struck the deepest nerve? Which moment made you realize, I've seen this, or worse, I've done this? Drop it in the comment. Let others wonder, are you talking about them, or about yourself? Because this isn't the end. This is the beginning of seeing the world without its filters. You're no longer the performer. You're the mirror. You reflect, and they shatter. And that is why the most powerful person in the room isn't the one who speaks. It's the one who doesn't need to. And now you know who that is. You. So rewatch this. Share it with someone who still believes the mask is real. And when you walk into the next room, don't introduce yourself. Observe. Smile. Say little. Let them try to read you. And when they fail, you'll know you've already won. Because the final tactic, the one I didn't say until now, is this. While you were reading everyone else, you were being trained. That's not magic. That's strategy. Now go use it, but use it with precision, like a knife or a crown. Your move.